sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. This is a podcast about two sisters, one of whom is a stand-up comedian, me, one of whom is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and that's Laura Ryan.
Hi, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Joke Master General Virginia Jones.
I like even Joke Master Jones.
Nope.
Well, on this podcast, we take turns researching a topic, and it can be about mental health, emotional health, TikTok, anything we find interesting, or at least one of us finds interesting. This week, it's my topic.
I get to be the ignoramus. But before we do that, I want to do a humble brag. I know that everyone who's listening to this has probably been hanging on to my TikTok account with bated breath. I currently have 1,130 followers on TikTok.
Watch her go. Look at her go.
Do you remember I was at 200 for about a year?
Yeah. You're pretty much the most famous person in your whole house, and I'm very excited for you.
To the listener, if you haven't been following my obsession with my TikTok account, I've been trying to get to 1,000 for about 2 years. So I finally got there. And how are we going to celebrate? I don't know.
Got cannoli ice cream.
That's true. I made some cannoli ice cream.
With Oreos in it, I guess.
That was my sous chef's idea. I didn't really support it, but I'm trying to be a loving parent. So
I believe that you are his sous chef, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that's sadly probably true. Virginia, what is today's topic?
Thanks so much for asking. We've been dealing with some pretty heavy stuff on the pod lately. We've been talking a lot about grief and addiction, family, dealing with friends who are going through stuff. It's been trauma laden, and I thought we'd do something a little fun. So my topic is lies your parents told you. How I thought it would work is I will do one, we'll talk about it. And then anytime you have a lie to chuck in, do it. Let's start with saying, I know that most of these are well-intentioned lies. Your parents are lying to you because there's a bigger truth that they think is confusing or too hard for you to grasp, or they don't know how to explain it. They want to take a shortcut to the result that they want. Santa Claus is an adorable lie.
I think you also have to remember, let's be real, very few parents have the express goal of screwing up their kids. I think we just have to remember that everything our parents did was probably with the right intentions, but because of their limitations, it didn't really work out.
As we talked about before, there's no training you need to do to be a parent. And when you're a parent, I project or think that a big part of what you're doing is trying to impose your worldview on another person. And I think that a lot of these speak to that.
It's indoctrination. I find it very funny. My son is very politically minded, and he has a lot of opinions about the conservative party and what he thinks should be going on. And he says these things like they're not just regurgitated ideas that I've given him. And I find that very funny.
Everyone likes to have a kid who's just like a little mirror reflecting themselves back at them until there's stuff that you don't like, and you get that as well.
Sometimes your child wants to grow his hair out, and then another kid calls it chopped.
Chopped, for those who aren't in the know, is Gen Alpha for bad haircut. So it doesn't mean they're watching a formerly popular cooking show. It doesn't mean that they've got a cute choppy bob. It means that whatever's going up there is bad.
Honestly, at this moment, I kind of agree. It's not the haircut that I wanted. And so it's turning into broccoli hair, whatever.
Least favorite.
Exactly. I remember when our niece decided that they were going to get a buzz cut, and I really didn't support that. We moved on.
It doesn't matter if you do or don't. It's what they want.
And we're just going to go off on a hair tangent. His father has been, I don't know if it's joking, threatening, or actually threatening, but he's been saying that he's going to start making his hair a fade and balding it from the bottom up. So each week he'll cut it shorter and shorter. And I don't support that at all. I don't like the idea of telling a child that they can't have any autonomy.
Yeah. This coincides. One of the hair lies that we suffered when we wanted a perm, we both got super tight Little Orphan Annie perms. What I wanted was Farrah Fawcett hair, Miss Breck hair. I did not want a Little Orphan Annie, but that's what I got.
I did want that.
Right. When you're sisters who are close in age, frequently you just get the same damn thing. One of you wants it, great. Both of you are getting it.
So
Super.
You were told that that was the only sort of perm that you could get?
That there was. But I saw women in magazines and I understood what a perm was, and it wasn't what I got, team.
Lies, yeah.
All right. My first big lie, this is maybe one of the early ones that I realized was just a big lie, even though I understand why it exists, drug use will ruin your life.
And that's not a complete lie.
Drug use can ruin your life. And a lot of this is social programming as well. We had the Nancy Reagan Just Say No stuff, and we had these commercials letting you know that any drug, from pot to cocaine, your life was going straight in the gutter. And when I started using drugs and my life didn't go in the gutter, I was like, well, what else are they lying to me about?
Spoiler alert, everything.
Right. Yeah, that was my first big, oh, I'm being lied to all the time. I can smoke dope and still have a job and still go to school and still be successful. But I think what your parents are trying to tell you is, we don't want you to be a burnout, but we don't have any way to communicate that. So we're just going to say no drugs ever.
I recently had this conversation with my child. And I said, I don't want to say that you can never use drugs or alcohol, but I would really like, if you do choose to do that, that you delay it as long as possible, because the earlier you're introduced to drugs and alcohol, the more likely that you'll be an addict.
And as far as alcohol goes, there's a lot of very good reasons to wait until your brain is fully formed. It will slow you down. And I'm assuming that probably the same is true for other drugs. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist.
I just thought of a lie that my mother told me about alcohol. She told me, if you have one drink and get behind the wheel of a car, you will die.
Yep.
That lie actually has really supported me, because I don't drive after more than one drink. I will have one drink and stop. My mother has told me so many horror stories about people dying in drunk driving accidents that I just always avoided it.
Okay, so that's a beneficial lie, we'll call it.
Yeah.
I think this is almost universal. They make fun of you because they're jealous, or they're bullying you because they're jealous. I remember hearing that lie, and I thought at the time, what are they jealous of exactly?
I think it was the afro.
Yes. Is it my Little Orphan Annie afro? Is it the fact that I am already 6 inches taller than everybody in my grade and my pants are never the right length? Is it the fact that I grew up formative years in a different country and I don't have all the cultural information that you have?
That I grew up in a religious cult and I'm super weird.
The hard truth is, whatever it is that they're choosing to make fun of you for, it has more to do with them than it does with you. And I think a lot of times they're trying to distract from what they don't like about themselves.
I think they're trying to take their bad feelings and put them on other people. We were talking about the child at summer camp who told my son that his hair was chopped. Unprompted, he said, well, he probably has a bad home life. And I thought, you know what?
You are training that kid well.
I'm nailing it.
There's times in life that you're in a real tightly controlled pecking order. It's when you're in school. It's when you're in a toxic workplace. It's when you're in stand-up comedy. And it's when you're in prison.
It's anywhere where you have to compete.
And so all these kids are just jockeying for position and trying to make you feel bad about yourself so that they can feel better about themselves. The person who used to give me the biggest stick about my pants not fitting and being too tall was a young woman who was really small. She was a child actress. She played Kenny Rogers' kid in The Gambler, and nobody ever could forget it. And when
That's
she was
quite a role that most people think about on the daily.
anytime that they were showing it on our local television, they would announce it over the PA in the morning that she was going to be on The Gambler, so make sure and watch it. However, I found out from other people, because I hate her to death and I will never speak to her again, that she moved to New York and she did some acting, but because she never broke or maybe 5 foot, once she aged out of child roles, she didn't have anything to do. And so maybe with the wisdom of time, I can say, okay, she was a little envious of me. As ungainly and Annie-permed as I was, she maybe was jealous that I was tall. Related, boys are mean to you because they like you.
I think that's also true.
I think it's true, but I think it's a dangerous idea to support.
Oh, yeah. You shouldn't tell a child that, but I do think that there's truth to it.
I was sharing this list with my partner last night, and he said, oh, yeah, I remember, because he has always been very interested in girls. And he said, when I was in 2nd grade, I had the biggest crush on this girl, but I definitely received the message that liking girls was not cool and you should not let anybody know that you liked girls. So I insulted her. And I think I made fun of her buck teeth, which I thought were adorable. And then she didn't like me, and that didn't work. And so I remember learning very early that that was not a workable solution.
Right. But I think because boys are taught that women are inferior and teasing is a form of flirting, I do think sometimes that one is true. When it came to David Weidberg and me, it was not true. He hit me in the face with a denim jacket and I had buttons, marks on my face for like 10 minutes.
Oh my God. And then
But he also insulted me a lot.
you had those button marks on your face on your wedding day.
It was a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story. Boys are mean to you because they like you. That's true, but
It has to have a caveat, I think.
right. Some more general. Every girl dreams of her wedding day. And really, that's it.
That is true for me.
Wedding day is the most important thing.
It was so important to me. My whole childhood, I was obsessed with being married.
I remember feeling this weird pressure when I was a preteen of you need to decide now.
What does the dress look like?
Right. Who are you going to marry? Is it going to be Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I was obsessed. I was insanely boy crazy. So I think it was just a natural evolution to be obsessed with marriage and weddings and all that stuff.
Related, every girl wants to become a mother / a woman is incomplete without kids. Now, that one I did get from my hater, but that motherhood is just an undeniable part of what's going to be part of your life.
Your hater said that you would be incomplete without kids. Who's your hater?
A recent hater who told someone that because I've chosen not to have children, I'm never going to be a full, woman.
Human woman.
I'm never going to be a full human woman.
And you know what? They're right. How do you wake up in the morning without the joys of having a child?
And the answer is I get to sleep in quite a
Yeah,
lot.
you sleep through the night and you don't wake up being kicked by someone small.
High school is the greatest time of your life.
I think that's true for a lot of people. Wasn't true for me at all. Why are all those movies based on kids in high school? Because whoever made the movie, whoever wrote the movie, that was when they peaked.
Or they're trying to live out a fantasy of what it would be like if their life was better in high school.
Right. But I think if you look at the idea of high school, theoretically, it does sound pretty fun. You're kind of independent, but you still have the safety of your home. You have all these special events if you're into that sort of thing.
Film and television version of high school is very attractive, where everyone's super attractive. Everyone stylistically has got their act together who didn't grow up in a cult. I don't know if Mormon girls had a great deal of steez. It was a lot of Holly Hobby outfits. You're right that there's an idea of high school where you're maybe at your athletic peak, you're attractive, you have a car, you have some free time. It should be good. But I remember thinking to myself in high school, if this is as good as it gets, I will leave the planet now. I didn't believe that that was true. Hilariously, I thought that college was going to be a lot different.
College was a lot different than my high school experience.
I remember feeling like such an outcast in high school and such a weirdo. And some of it had to do with me being a weirdo. And some of it, I think, had to do with being a smart girl.
And having autism.
Doesn't help. And I remember thinking in college, everyone's going to be really concentrated on their studies, on being the smartest person they can be. This is no longer going to be a disadvantage. That wasn't right.
No, that was an incorrect assessment. But I can tell you, my father in his infinite wisdom decided my sophomore year, after I'd been with the same kids since fourth grade, that's when he decided that he was going to move me across the state to a very small town with a bunch of folks who were into the cowboy culture that I was not at all into. So my high school experience was horrific in that way because I didn't like anybody at my school.
Yeah.
I did have a few friends, but almost everybody at my school thought I was a Satan worshiper and didn't understand me. And it was not fun. I could not wait to get out of high school.
Same. I graduated from a class of, I believe, 1,000 people. And I know where about 3 of them are now. And that's all I want to know.
It's funny. I was talking to a friend who they're going to do a 25-year anniversary for their high school graduation because they didn't do the 20th because it was during the pandemonium. And she was talking about going. And I thought, oh my God,
why would you go?
I wouldn't in a million years go to a reunion.
Could not pay me enough money.
You could pay me enough money. I'd go for $1 million, but I'm not going to go for free.
Facebook has kind of destroyed that anyway. It used to be you wanted to see
how fat everybody
got, see if who was still married. And you have that information at your beck and call. I actually wasn't invited to any reunions until I think my 20th.
I feel like the people from high school that I would want to see, I'm still talking to. I don't need to go to a reunion to talk to them.
The city you live in is the best city in the world. You never need to leave. We didn't particularly get this from our parents because our dad had itchy feet. We moved every couple years. But I think many kids who grow up in the same place their whole lives, they have advantages, but they have disadvantages. And one of them is it gets hard to leave. And you're told, this is the best place.
Lights, yeah.
I remember speaking to my 13, we were walking through some sort of food court in McKinney, Texas. I said, so where do you want to go to college? What's your plan? Where do you want to move to, basically? And she said, I really have everything I need right here in McKinney. And I was like, girl, you're such a liar. And it turns out I was right.
It turns out there are other places to be and other ways to live. And I think it's very important to go out and explore that. And maybe you will decide that McKinney, Texas is the very best place in the world, but I don't reckon.
I can see the appeal of being in the same place your entire life because there's the safety there. Everything is predictable. I know who I can talk to. I know where everything is. I remember when our sister Emily lived in a small town, we would go to Walmart and there were just people there that knew her. And I had never had that experience.
That is a fun thing. And that's been a fun thing about returning to Portland because you do just run into people. That's something that I did miss living in a bigger city. Okay, this lie, the country you live in is the best country in the world.
This is a lie that our mother still says. It's the best country in the world.
And it's weird because she's lived in another country, but I don't know if her experience there was that.
No, it was
broad.
terrible.
Right.
And I can tell you, not living in this country for a while, there are a lot of things that are super convenient about it. The things that I missed when I wasn't here were Target, being able to go to a grocery store after 5 p.m., going to a grocery store on the weekend. I really missed that. Being able to find ingredients for most foods in a grocery store. A lot of these are grocery store oriented.
Yeah. Chocolate chips are a big problem is what
chocolate chips, ranch dressing. There were just a lot of things that there was just really lacking. But I also remember I had a friend who lived in Italy and he was saying, I have attempted to mail something at the post office 5 different times and it's just never open. There's certain cultural shortcuts. Like I remember trying to get my partner a new registration for his car and you had to go to a bookie. There's just a lot of differences, but I don't know if it's better. I think you just have to adjust to new things.
And when you're living in a country where everything is a giant pain in the butt and nothing is convenient, I think part of it is that it's okay to take time off work. It's okay not to work 60 hours a week.
It's okay to take a 2-hour lunch break every day.
Go get your car registered. Go do whatever it is you need to do. When I was traveling the world for work a lot, I remember experiencing some very poor countries and thinking, well, I'm really lucky that I wasn't born here, but also experiencing different cultural ideals, understanding that ours is just what it is, which is money is the most important thing. You can never be too rich or too thin. That's really matters. And being in other countries where family is more important and individuality is not as important, community is more important. It's not all bad, team.
No, I'm going to say firmly, especially as of late, our mother is wrong. This is not the greatest country in the world. This country has the greatest propaganda machine of anywhere in the world, because as I'm aging and learning more about how things have been going since I've been alive, it's a pretty bad place. This is the bad place, is what a lot of people are saying about America.
I don't think anybody looking at America's education, poverty rate,
longevity
would say that this is the greatest country in the world. It is a country where you can get 5 different flavors of gummy worms
at 3 a.m.
And you can get Amazon to send them to your house. But that might not be something that changes the quality of your life.
Because I think the reason that we have so much emphasis on the ease of getting things done. I remember I came home and I went to Bennigan's for some reason. And they had this deal where it was like, if your lunch doesn't come out in 15 minutes, you don't have to pay for it. It's just because we don't have work-life balance. We have to make everything ultra convenient and easy because we don't have any way to get the things we need based on our 90-hour work weeks.
When I was visiting Emily when she lived in New York, and everybody used a laundry service, and I thought that was so decadent. But it's because, one, nobody has a wash facility in their house or in their building. And 2, nobody has the time. So it's very normal to just leave a sack of dirty laundry and people will launder it. These systems come up when you don't have time to cook for yourself, clean for yourself, wash your clothing. It's so that you can spend more time at work.
Also, I can say with confidence that the washer dryer situation abroad is not what it is here.
It's subpar.
If we're just basing something being the best country on earth just on washers and dryers, I'm going to go ahead and say America wins on that one.
One shocker thing for Americans frequently is going to the UK and seeing that they don't usually use a dryer. They just hang everything to dry. And we think that that is super déclassé.
When I was living in Prague, we didn't have a dryer. And so we had a laundry room with the drying line on it, and you would just hang all your clothes in there. Your pants, especially jeans, were real crispy all the time.
You shouldn't question authority.
You have to be obedient.
I was brought up to believe the police were always right. The justice system is always right. If someone is arrested, they've done the crime. That's not true at all.
P. Diddy's trial is good evidence of that. What I've been learning as a grown-up is that the justice system does not work mostly for BIPOC folks, but especially for the poor.
Yes, the richer you are, the more stuff you're going to magically get away with.
According to jury-selected people, they didn't have enough evidence, but according to anyone else with eyes, ears, and a functioning brain, they had plenty.
If I were raising a kid, I wouldn't probably tell them that when they were 10, but I would tell them when they were 20. You should question authority.
I tell him now because one of the biggest risk factors for childhood SA is an overly compliant child. We both know that my son is not going to be a victim of childhood SA because he is non-compliant by nature.
Yeah, that would be a good re-recording of that album, Non-Compliant by Nature.
His grandmother sends him home with these ideas about obedience. I try to sort of parse it out for him and say, I agree that a trusted adult that you have respect for should be treated with respect, but it's okay to disagree with people. It's okay to say you don't like something. Ultimately, I think it's important, especially with parents and parental figures, to be at least cooperative.
Every adult that you meet is not the boss of you.
The fun thing about being an adult around small children is that they do think that I'm the boss of them, and I act like I am, and it works out pretty good. I regularly chastise children in public on the daily, really.
This is a little more fun. It is illegal to drive with the dome light on in the car. We will get pulled over. The thing I wanted the dome light on for was because I wanted to read a comic, something I didn't need to do.
What I've noticed about children, especially children in cars, is that they think that the thing that they're doing is the most important thing. Very recently, a young person that was in my car wanted me to watch a YouTube video while I was changing lanes on the highway.
And you had to say, hey, I would love to watch this later when we're parked.
One of my new catchphrases is, that's not the priority right now.
Lights on the car. I get it. It's difficult for an adult to see the person driving the car. It's difficult for them to see when the lights are on. That's why you do it. But if you tell a child, it's difficult for me to see, that child does not value that information.
They don't care. Most of the lies that I've shared with my child are based on my child does not give a rat about anything that inconveniences me or makes things hard for me. He figures I just need to get over it.
You can't swim until an hour after eating. I actually don't know what this is for.
I think that's actually true because you're more likely to get the bends or something like that.
Nope. That's for someone who's been deep sea diving. It's just flat not true. Maybe it's something that our parents believed, but there is no...
I think it's more than just our parents. I think that was a societal belief. Because I've heard that lots of different times. I think it's just one of those incorrect things that gets passed down, like the idea that rabbits like to eat carrots. That's not true. Bugs Bunny's carrot chewing stance came from It Happened One Night. There's a scene with Clark Gable leaning against a fence and eating carrots while talking with his mouth full. So that's where we got the idea that rabbits like
carrots. He's trying to be like Clark Gable. Karma will get them in the end. This is a more modern one. This is something hippie moms will say.
I think that's true.
This is along the lines of like cheaters never prosper. Cheaters prosper a lot. Look at the president of these United States. If you have money and you cheat, it's going to go great for you. And karmic retribution, that idea is not in this lifetime. It's in future lifetimes. And that's not soon enough for a lot of people.
But what I have discovered is most of the people who have wronged me have ended up with crappy lives because people who treat other people poorly will end up having crappy lives. If you look at our president, if we're just using his karma, yeah, theoretically, he's in a position of power. Most of the people in the country hate him.
Most of the people in his party hate him.
Right. I have 2,000 comments on my TikTok about Trump being the worst president ever. And I don't think that that's what he was hoping for.
I agree. I think karma gets them in the end is a shorthand way of saying if they live their life this way, they're going to get the life they deserve.
They will have a comeuppance.
Oh, we don't talk enough about comeuppance. One that you and I have been talking about a lot is, particularly as a woman, your life is not complete without a man. Got to be a man right in the center of it.
Who told you that?
This is kind of a new idea that if you're happy with your life and none of the men you've met have made your life better, you don't have to have one. Every time I say anything like this, people are like, well, not my husband. I'm like, great, super great. If everyone you've ever dated, for whatever reason, for whatever your upbringing was or whatever their experience is a lodestone around your neck, you don't have to.
I remember I had a mentor when I was a young woman, like teens, early 20s, who said, the people in your life are either complimenting or complicating your life more of the time. If the person is complicating your life more than they're complimenting, then you shouldn't be in a relationship with them.
Related, when you find the right partner, everything in that relationship will be easy. And I think that's a very Hollywood idea.
I don't know that I ever believed that.
The happily ever after idea. But also, I think that people will end relationships with people who are an okay match for them and people who are okay people because they have a challenge. They're like, well, this wouldn't happen if you were the one.
That's what narcissists say. A big part of narcissism is having really unrealistic beliefs about other people in your life, that everyone should be here to serve you. I remember you were talking about someone that you know who says that whenever things get hard, they just leave the relationship. Because I think also that story is about the first year of a relationship. If you're having huge problems in the first year of your relationship, you probably should leave. But after the first year, you should expect to have a lot of problems.
Because neither one of you is perfect and you're just two people trying to get through life. The person who you end up with, I'm sorry, but I don't think that they were destined by God or fate or anything else.
Speak for yourself.
They have a combination of traits that you find desirable, and you guys are going to have conflict because you're both people.
I also think this idea that relationships are going to be rosy or nice. I remember seeing a TikTok recently where they were saying when King Henry VIII invented divorce, the expectation was that most people weren't going to be married for more than 10 years. And I think that's pretty realistic. I think you can hold it together. Unless someone is super unreasonable, you can hold it together for about 10 years.
I could have done another year if I wanted to.
Except for the cheating.
Except for that. If I'd accepted that, I feel like we could have done another year. The idea that marriage is happily ever after and that every day is going to be happy, that's a child's idea.
It's built into our culture. I was talking with a young client that I have right now, and she was saying, I want to find my person and I want to get married and I want to do all the things. And I said, think carefully about where you came up with these ideas, because I'm fairly certain that you've been spoon-fed these ideas from birth.
Here's phrases that make my feet itch and give me hives, which I have one right now because you said my person. My person, hubby, kiddo, toppings.
Toppings?
Yeah, like salad toppings. I don't like that.
What about ice cream? What else do you put on there?
Just say fudge.
No, I'm at Amy's and I want gummy bears and chocolate and marshmallows.
I just don't like the idea that there's a category of things called toppings or toppers. I really don't like toppers.
This is feeling very autistic to me.
Okay, here's a lie. Cracking your fingers will make them too big to wear a boy's ring.
I was told that if I cracked my fingers, I would be permanently disabled, which has not turned out to be true.
TBD. Cracking your fingers will give you arthritis related.
Yes, I've heard that too. So what is the truth? It's just releasing air between your joints, right?
Yeah. I think the truth is the more you do it, the more you have to do it.
Kind of like eye drops.
Yes. We are both addicted to eye drops, and there is no recovery programs for
no
this.
Cure for there's no cure and there's no recovery.
Yeah. You just want red eyes? Okay.
You want red eyes for life? You want to look bleary eyed?
One day you say, you know what? My eyes could be a little bit whiter and clearer. Okay. Now you got to do it forever. Enjoy it. My last lie. It occurred to me in adulthood this wasn't true at all. This will go down on your permanent record. And this is not necessarily a parental lie, but this is something I was told in school. Oh, that's going to go down your permanent record. No, it isn't. If you fail a class when you're 18 and then you retake it or you take it in college, nothing you do apart from murder, even on your criminal record, stuff drops off after an amount of time.
Actually, that's incorrect.
Yeah?
I will have a mark on my license for the rest of my career, thanks to a helpful woman.
A certain special woman. But yes, generally speaking, there's no permanent record. Exceptions for obviously your profession.
Or if I commit a felony, that is on my permanent record.
Yes, but if I skip school, it isn't.
Speak for yourself.
If I take myself to off-campus lunch without permission.
Well, that will affect the rest of my high school experience, but not the rest of my life.
No. That's the idea I was being sold, was that decisions I made in high school, a lot of them were poor decisions, were going to affect me for the rest of my life. And I think that that's what a lot of these lies are. It's trying to keep you from doing something stupid that will affect you for the rest of your life. Getting a face tattoo or marrying Lady Gaga or like whatever it is you think is going to be.
Or having unprotected sex at 13.
Yes. Having unprotected sex, period. Stop. Laura, what are your final thoughts on lies?
I think as a parent, I understand a lot more about why people tell us lies. I get so tired of the why question. Well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Just do it.
Because you don't have the guts to engage in a Socratic dialogue with your child, a natural born philosopher.
It's not about my guts. It's about the time. I don't have the time. I don't have the time, nor do I have the interest.
I guess it goes back into our country's too busy. If you can't sit down and have a heart-to-heart with your kid about why he shouldn't be touching wild animals and he shouldn't be swallowing gum all the time, we need to think about that as a society.
I think you're right. All of these things came about because a parent was trying to help. Often a parent or teacher is trying to make their life a little bit easier.
And screw you guys.
Exactly.
Do you have any lies that we didn't cover that you know you tell?
Probably thousands. Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy, all of that. I chose to tell those lies in different degrees. With the Tooth Fairy, I went a little bit hard because I found an app that will put a little Tooth Fairy on your baby's shoulder while they're sleeping. And that was pretty special. I just love the idea of magic. And I know that being an adult sucks so hard. And being a child is the only time, I think, really in your life where you really do believe in magic. And I just wanted to kind of make that last as long as I could. With the Easter Bunny, I just dispensed with that. I said, Easter Bunny, whatever. Your mom does this, so appreciate me. Because that's the thing that also sucks. I had a friend who was telling me that Santa Claus gave the kid the most expensive gift. No,
that's a single mother thing. No, I'm taking credit for that. Thank you. Santa Claus got you socks.
Santa Claus gives you socks. He gives you underwear. He gives you maybe a learning tool or a book or something. The fun things come from mom.
But right over here.
But I remember the day that my son came home from school, some little rat bag had arrived at the conclusion that Santa Claus wasn't real. And he just sort of sat me down and was like, hey, I have discovered that Santa Claus is not real and the Easter Bunny is not real and the Tooth Fairy is not real.
And that was a really hard 15th birthday.
When he came home at 25 and said it,
Mother, I have something rather shocking to tell you and I need you to sit down.
It was premature for me, but I think it's because my sister had spoiled it for me at a very young age and I was trying really hard to not do that for him.
A lot of this kid's childhood is trying to correct errors that you perceive occurred in your childhood.
Every kid's childhood, let's be real. I just remembered a lie that I told. And one of my friends actually ratted me out, which really annoyed me.
Thanks a lot.
I said when my son yelled in the house that the cops were going to come and they were going to arrest him.
That's a universal. Everybody has to pull out the old cops excuse.
Right. But my friend corrected me in front of him. And I was like, that's kind of a lame move. You have kids. You know that you have to lie to your kids. She didn't agree. Because what I was trying to do is mitigate a situation that was completely out of control.
And before ICE, that wasn't true.
These days, it might be. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
My final thoughts are, yes, I totally understand why these lies exist. I think as your child gets older, it's more important that they develop critical thinking than that they are 100% compliant 100% of the time. Your dude is a pain in your butt, and I know that. But I also love that he questions everything and is not an easy sell because I think that's going to serve him in adulthood if he survives.
If he makes it.
Listeners, if you have really crazy lies your parents told you, feel free to write us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com and share it. I do think everybody's doing the best they can. Some of this we could do better, right?
I just think lying is a shortcut. Unfortunately, when it's lying about a person's father being theirs or not,
people would get away from this stuff for hundreds of years. And now the truth is all in the blood.
Thousands of years, really.
Thousands of years, yeah. Because I think a lot of times the women didn't know. Well, could be one of a couple people.
I think a lot of times the women did know, but they didn't want their husband to know.
Sure. Yes. People will find reasons to justify dishonesty, but how are you going to tell your kid not to lie when they believe in the Easter Bunny?
This is the problem, because when that happened, he looked at me with shock and horror and said, "How have you been able to lie to me this long?"
How did that feel?
It felt great. It felt great that the magic of childhood was dying before my very eyes. And I was also being called out for being a liar.
On that topic of Laura's a liar, if you would like us to lie about your product and tell everybody how great it is,
If it's really bad,
you can reach us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. It turns out my cost is very low. I recently did advertising for a messenger bag that says Atari on it. I don't need much. If you would like to follow the podcasts on Instagram, we're at My Sister's a Therapist. If you would like to check out our homepage, we have one at mysistersatherapist.com, which I can't believe it, but it was available. Laura, where can people find you on the internet if they wish to do so?
they can follow my 1,000+ followers to my TikTok account. I am Laura Ryan. If they're interested in pursuing a professional relationship and they live in the state of Texas, you can find me at lauraryan.org. So, Virginia, where can people find you on these interwebs if they're interested in your comedy?
I maintain a calendar on my website, www.badinia.com. That's Badinia for those not in the know. You can also find me on TikTok at Badinia and Instagram at Badinia. It turns out that not a lot of people want to use the word Badinia because it doesn't mean anything. We do want to thank all of our listeners. Each and every one of you is very special to us. If you have not yet written us a positive review on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon, we would encourage you to do that because we really enjoy it and we're going to make you famous by reading it on the air. Laura, do you have a review or an email to share with us this week?
I certainly do. Also, the reviews really help to boost the podcast and to make us available to other people.
We're not just doing it for our own ego, although that is a component.
I mean, it doesn't hurt our egos if you want to say nice things about us on the internet. Also, if you have a friend, Roman, or countryman that you think might enjoy our podcast, feel free to tell them as soon as possible. Let's make the personal goal this week to tell 3 people you know, or maybe even 3 strangers that you love My Sisters.
We are not a pyramid scheme. Stop it.
That's what you think. Hey, we'll be a pyramid scheme if it means that it's going to boost our ratings on the internet.
Laura, do you have a positive review or email to read this week?
I certainly do. This is an email from SM. Loved the autism episode. When I was in nursing school in 1992 and 1993, they flat out told us that women and girls didn't have autism. Meanwhile, all my clothes said Morrissey across the front. I would only eat about 8 foods. I could only drive places via one route. And if I had to change due to accidents or construction, I'd get lost and couldn't figure it out and preferred books to my classmates. Nursing school did, however, tell me what to say to patients when giving bad news, when introducing myself, when making small talk and trying to be reassuring. And that made me better than ever at masking. Thank you, SM.
Did I write this?
Unless your initials are SM. And also you're a licensed nurse.
Thank you. That's amazing.
That is amazing. If you have not yet heard our Is Everybody Autistic episode, go back and check it out.
Before you do that, please join us in thinking on the words of our spiritual founder, Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn. As he said, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.